Good morning, everyone. My name is Alexandra Tribe, and I'm the managing partner of Expatriate Law, a family law firm specialising in divorce for expats. I'm here with Jessica Crozier, who is a trained mediator based in Dubai. We're going to talk about mediation and divorce, and the jurisdiction in Dubai and England for divorce, and the benefits of mediation. So firstly, we may want to think about where to divorce. If you're considering separation in the UAE or surrounding regions, and you're a British expat, you may be wondering whether to commence divorce proceedings in Dubai, or where you live, or back home in England. Can you do a divorce in either jurisdiction, and what is best for you? When considering divorce jurisdiction, most people think they need to divorce in the place in which they were married. In fact, that's not necessarily the case. You can divorce in the place where you presently live, if that's Dubai, through the Dubai courts, or you can divorce in the place where you are domiciled. There's a lot of confusion about what domicile means and whether you remain domiciled in England if you move to live abroad in Dubai for a stint as an expat. Generally speaking, if you or your spouse were born in England, and your family are British or have had connections to England at the time of your birth, then it's likely you retain domicile in England. And that will allow you to commence a divorce through the English courts. And this can be a largely administrative process. Starting a divorce in England doesn't mean that it has to be an acrimonious court battle. The majority of cases are dealt with through careful negotiations and an application lodged with the court without the need of the parties attending the courts in England. The way to resolve financial matters on divorce is often complex. Mediation is a tried and tested route to reaching an amicable solution on divorce. It helps you and your partner sit and think together of a solution that will last as a long-term settlement, often for the benefit of both parties and the children. Jessica, tell us more about mediation.
Hi, Alexandra. Thanks for inviting me to speak today. So mediation is an impartial process whereby someone who's a qualified mediator like myself will generally get both parties in the room who have got a dispute and sit with both parties and get them to explain basically where they're at, what solution they want to achieve, and basically work with both of them to try and get to the stage where you can compromise on certain issues, which obviously there might be quite a distance between the two parties, to get to a stage where you can reach a solution to conclude whatever dispute it has, whatever dispute you have, whether it's divorce or financial issues. It can be private issues, or it can be like a commercial dispute. And generally, once you've had the mediation, the idea is that you'll get to a settlement, and as mediator, I would help you record the settlement with your lawyers, whereby you can set out what you've agreed between the two of you, and then depending on what sort of dispute you have, then you would either get that settlement agreement recorded and file it with the court in some sort of consent order. But it depends on the type of issue that you've got that you're disputing. I'm a qualified English solicitor, and many other mediators will be solicitors as well, but obviously not all mediators need to be solicitors. It's a separate process of training to become a mediator.
Mm. And when you have your negotiated agreement that you assist with, you would draft up a heads of agreement to reflect the agreement reached between the parties. We're looking forward to registering the agreement. There are obviously options. A couple living in Dubai may choose to register that agreement through the administrative divorce process in England, or through a court application for divorce to the Dubai courts. In my experience, both are relatively straightforward. Both can be done with minimal legal fees. In Dubai, as long as you have the drafted agreement, it could be lodged by yourself without having lawyers instructed, which definitely will keep costs down. Similarly, in England, there's no need to have a lawyer involved for the divorce process. Nowadays, the divorce process is online, and you will need a solicitor to draft it into terms that are suitable for the court, but you can do it yourself by lodging the agreement with the court and the associated documents. So both processes involve quite a straightforward application and can keep costs to a minimum. What's important in my view is to ensure that the mediated agreement includes all issues in terms of the finances, and assets are all mentioned within the agreement, as well as maintenance for a spouse and for children. I often see a situation where a settlement will be agreed and lodged before the Dubai courts, but it ends up being tested at a later date within the English courts because one party asserts that assets were missed out or they were pushed into the settlement in some way. So individuals who are thinking about entering into a consent order through the Dubai courts, it's a great idea and it's simple and straightforward and cost effective, but they need to be aware that unless the agreement is drafted in such a way that it will be enforceable through the English courts, it can leave them open to future attack through the English courts under the Part 3 process. This is the route for an application to the English court by one party for a financial claim after a foreign divorce. And since we deal with matters involving Dubai and England, we see a lot of these claims. So my advice to those considering dealing with matters either in England or in Dubai, make sure the agreement incorporates everything, make sure there's been clear and full disclosure of assets, all the assets involved in the case owned by one party and the other, make sure that it's negotiated and dealt with both parties receiving independent legal advice if necessary. And that helps to ensure the agreement is really watertight. Looking forward to other issues for mediation. In your view, Jessica, how long does a mediated settlement usually take to agree?
It depends on the type of dispute that people have. Normally, if it's a commercial dispute, the mediation would be set for like one day, starting at 10 a.m. You might finish at 10 p.m. Sometimes people want mediations to be 2 days. I don't think that's a good idea personally, because if you can't agree it in one day, you're unlikely to agree it in the second day. And also having it set for that period focuses people's minds on the issue. Often, well, not often, but quite a lot of times, if you don't settle at mediation, you'll settle very shortly afterwards. Like I remember years ago, there was a statistic that said 97% of cases settle at mediation or within like 3 months of mediation.
That's certainly what I find with my clients as well.
And then if it's a divorce mediation, I generally say to people that we should meet for 2 hours at a time, because it's too difficult for the people involved to mediate on matters that are very close to their heart emotionally, because obviously you've got your children involved, and actually, you know, you're discussing how you're going to sort of, you know, live after the divorce, and there's, you know, there might be a lot of hurt involved, and, you know, each party could have fears about, you know, like how are their children going to live following the settlement, and, you know, how's it going to affect them financially. So it can be quite emotionally difficult for each party. So I generally say 2 hours is the maximum time to spend, and then see how, you know, they feel after the 2 hours, and then maybe come back in 2 weeks' time or a month's time, or like sometimes I'll have people come for 2 hours and I'll never see them again, because basically they've agreed actually what we'll do is like a trial separation, because we've agreed who's going to pay the fees for the school, going to do this, that, and the other, and that's fine for an interim period, and then further down the line they'll deal with the divorce. It depends on the people.
And if the parties are very acrimonious, they've had a difficult separation and they can't bear to be in the same room with each other, do you offer mediation where you'll meet with one party and then another day meet with another party, at least at the initial stages?
I haven't had to do that, but I don't see any reason why I can't do that. Normally when I've have a divorcing couple in the room, like I'm in my office right now, so they sit on the sofa so they're comfortable. I'll sit opposite them and then we'll talk through things. But sometimes if it would be more constructive for one party to leave the room, I would ask one of them to just go and sit in my lounge and just make themselves a cup of tea or something.
Yeah.
While I speak to their wife separately or speak to the husband separately, and discuss it that way. But a lot of times before I've even met the people for the mediation, I've actually talked to them both over the phone. And I've also asked them for, it would be called a mediation statement in a more formal mediation, but when it's a couple, I just ask them to send me an email saying, like, where they're at, what they're looking for, what's the background, and then that would be copied to their partner, so we both know where we stand at the start of the mediation. And then when they come in to start the mediation, then I'd ask them to repeat where they are, because actually whenever people are back in the room together, things can be quite different, and they may not have been with each other, they may feel slightly differently, they may have thought about things since they wrote that statement, and then a week later they have the mediation and go, actually, look, I want to discuss with you about X because actually I see a different way forward or something like that. So
absolutely.
It really depends on the people. But yes, there's definitely, I've definitely spoken with couples who one partner wants to mediate and the other doesn't. And with those people, I've actually not had them come for mediation because I've said to them, look, the two of you need to be on the same page that you mediate, because otherwise it's pointless, because if one of you's coming here with no intention to mediate, then sort of wasting your own time as well as mine. And obviously there's costs involved for having a mediation. But the fact is, say one of you want a mediation and the other one doesn't, things can change 6 months down the line, or however long things may take. So I think it's always a good idea to suggest mediation if you want to try and make things quicker.
Yeah, absolutely. And do you undertake mediation via Zoom or video link?
I have not, but I can do.
Because that would mean that you would be able to assist couples who live outside the UAE and other parts of the Middle East, Qatar and Oman. Yes,
and mediation does work quite well on Zoom. I know, because obviously with Zoom you can have what are called breakout rooms. So, say you have a three-way conversation like you and I are having with a third person, obviously, but then I could say, look, I'm going to have a separate meeting with the wife. And then we have a breakout room where we talk together, and then I then bring us all back into the room together. And actually that's a very good way to do it, because if you were physically doing a mediation, you would often have your own room where one party's in one room, one party's in the other room, and then you have a common room where everyone's brought together. So it's just the same process done in a virtual way. I don't tend to do that with the divorce mediations, because usually people are okay to be sat together, and if at certain stages it's more constructive for one person to leave the room, I will do that, but generally it's okay.
And what is the most rewarding matter that you've mediated on?
Generally ones where the couple might not be too sure about what they actually want to achieve, and they get themselves to a stage where they're like, actually, look, we can work this out. This is a couple in Dubai where they've decided, look, rather than going straight ahead with the divorce, why don't we have a trial separation period and see how we are after 3 months and come back together and see if we can work things through, because sometimes people don't actually go ahead with divorce when they initially think they do want a divorce.
Yeah, I've certainly found that. I've even found that couples with the most acrimonious relationship commence divorce proceedings, get almost there, and then come to me and say, you're going to go crazy, but we've got back together. But that's great. That's great. And because the matter has been dealt with in an amicable way, with no aggression and no unnecessary confrontation, their relationship hasn't been irreparably damaged. They've been able to move forward and continue building trust. And that's what's so important in our respective jobs.
Yeah.
Well,
it's nice.
It's been
sorry. It's nice as well, because sometimes people don't see that actually there can be a resolution to whatever's happened in their marriage, and actually, you know, with this process it can help them get to that stage.
Absolutely, and keep their heads held high at the end, whatever the outcome. Well, it's been lovely talking to you today, Jessica. I am such a fan of mediation, and I think it's the most brilliant way for couples to resolve their family disputes. And most importantly, it really works. So I would encourage everyone to give it a try if they're considering separation, or even if they have some family issues that need resolving in a neutral way like this. So I look forward to sending mediated cases to you in the near future, Jessica.